goodnewspilipinas.com. My name is Trixie Esguerra. I'm a vision board coach, a motivational speaker, and a theta healer. And this is a live show for 30 days, for 30 minutes, every 8 p.m. We are now on episode 29, and we still continue to aim to raise our vibration, pull each other up, and make ourselves productive while staying at home. And tonight, I am co-hosting, well, I should have done this way earlier. I'm co-hosting the 29th episode with the CEO of Mediacom Solutions, the founder of several top expo shows in the country, Mr. David Abganilia.
Hello.
Hi, my love. Thank
Hi,
you
my
for
love.
being here. Thanks for
Again.
joining me tonight. How are you?
Good. Given the circumstances, trying to be positive as well, my love.
Yeah, that's a spirit. So, my love, our episode is so interesting because once and for all, as entrepreneurs, I doing during this crisis, both for essentials and non-essentials. So, friends, I won't take it any longer. The award-winning dynamic duo behind the consulting agency GeiserMaclang. Let's start off with the globally award-winning brand architect, risk, crisis and reputation strategist, marketing and communications innovator. We have Amor Maclang. And of course, right now on the screen, we see the leading social marketer, research and planning director, and veteran communication strategist, Brad Kaiser. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Hello.
Magandang gabi.
Hi.
Forgot the most important title, which is David and Trish. Hello.
Hello.
Whoops.
Yes,
Looks
I
like
hello.
everybody's
can,
coming
Can
in
you hear
very
us?
choppy.
we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Can you hear
Did you
me
hear what
now?
I said? When you made me sound more important than I actually am, but you forgot the most important title, which is David and Trixie's friend.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, that's so sweet of you, of course. Uh, Hello, there you go. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Thank you, Brad and Amor, for your time. We know you're very, very busy. So thank you for the time, the wisdom that you'll be sharing with us tonight. So, what's the highlight of your day?
Wow. What a good question. Uh, everyone's been reaching out and asking about, hey, Amor, Brad, you guys talk about and teach how to manage businesses, organizations, systems, and processes amidst a crisis. Now we're in an actual crisis. Um, how would you recommend that we go about things? Brad and I have had a lot of conversation surrounding it. Because instead of calling it a crisis, we number one, this is probably what, Brad, the mother of all special situations. And next week we also have a webinar because this is probably the mother lode of all black swan events. It would probably be good for you, Brad, to share why this is why we prefer to call it a special situation than a crisis, because there are certain emotions and feelings that are elicited. It's very much like falling in love, unfortunately, that race in your heart, the defensiveness, the anger when attacked, right? The defensiveness that comes when being attacked. All of those emotions tend to make us unobjective and unable to properly act or
Whoop.
into objective, because right now what we all need is the pain, the anger, because that's what was it's really all about doing what it takes all of us to
Amor,
complete.
Amor, you're coming in choppy.
Yeah. I was trying to. Hello, Amor. Can you hear us? Can you guys hear Amor well?
Yes.
Yes,
We didn't hear what you said. You were, we looked. It was like every fifth word. Maybe you need to repeat yourself.
Yes, please. Okay, I got the
Do you
fall
hear
in
me?
love part.
Yeah. Are you there? Amor?
hello.
Well, anyway.
Trixie, am I coming in okay?
Now you are. Now you
No,
are.
you're very, very happy. Okay. Yeah. We
Okay.
missed most of what you said.
All right. So, Ian, because I don't know if I should speak up or how I'm.
Are you on the Wi-Fi or on data?
Okay, we'll get to a more in a few. Brad, I
Yeah.
want to ask you, what's the highlight of your day?
Right. Well, I think COVID has very much shifted our priorities. Right now, the highlight of my day is listening to my daughter's online voice class.
Mm,
So,
baby.
um, I mean, we're working very hard, but we're doing it now around family, which we didn't get to used to do before, and so that's a nice change. Um, before my daughter would go to her own classes, all over the metro, and we wouldn't really get to see that much of it. But now she has all of her classes online, and we're busy, messaging away, and there she is singing her heart out. It makes teleconferencing a little challenging, but it's fun,
Right. I see how excited and how happy you are. Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
you know,
Brett, I have a question. You guys just celebrated your
yeah,
25th anniversary as GeiserMaclang, right? And I remember also like when I got to
20th,
start,
20th.
yeah, 20th, sorry,
Don't
20th.
rush my life. Don't rush my life.
20th. And I still remember like when I started my business here in the Philippines, one of the first courses I was privileged to attend to was your crisis management class. So
Hmm.
that you did like in 2013. Obviously, I mean, a crisis into like a brand that goes through some struggles is one thing, but a national crisis where everybody is suffering, that's a whole new kind of a
Global,
level of a crisis, right?
global,
And global, correct. So,
right?
number one, you guys say it, you eat stress for breakfast, right? And lunch and dinner.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
my first question would be
And,
is like,
and
what
poop solutions.
yeah, where did the passion come from? I mean, because when people are hit by crisis, usually they run away or
Sorry.
they freeze. But you guys, you go right into it and
I know.
you see to help people. Where does the passion come from?
Um, well, Amor and I, we like to consider ourselves nationalists. So a big part of GeiserMaclang, even before the idea of social enterprise came out, was do well by doing good. Um, and
Mm,
so one of the things that we've always noticed about the Philippines, especially from the point of view of international reputation, is that um, we have a lot of things happen inside of this country, and we tend to get judged based on the way that we respond to those things. And this has a direct effect on how stable the country is perceived, how good of an investment it is. Is it a country that other countries want to do business with? And while I do love the freedom of expression and the freedom of communication and the right to criticize and things along those lines, if you're not managing your crisis well, it doesn't just hurt you; it hurts all of the other companies around you. It can hurt your entire industry, and it can hurt the country. So Amor and I, a long time ago, made the decision to take crisis communications from this shadowy backroom operation that was controlled by very secretive individuals and try and make it a public conversation. And it's very important. And I think that crisis itself is very important because people confuse crisis management with risk management. And a lot of the problems that we face from COVID come from the fact that we took a risk management approach rather than a crisis management approach. To clarify.
How is it
clarify.
different in this scenario right now, like in terms of like COVID?
So risk is the idea of looking at possible things that can go wrong or right, and measuring the variability in terms of the risk, the impact that can happen, and taking mitigation factors, taking mitigation steps to minimize that kind of impact. Now, this is a wonderful practice, but it's not crisis. Why? Well, we call this black swan because it's supposed to be sudden and unexpected, but let's tell the truth. The truth is that scientists have been telling us for years that a global pandemic could occur. Mm-hmm. Just like Ta'al, right? Geologists have been, volcanologists have been telling us forever that it's possible that Ta'al could erupt. Mm-hmm. We all knew it was a possibility, but we didn't think that it was a likely enough possibility for us to invest resources preparing for it, right? We thought it was unlikely. And that's the way a risk manager thinks. A crisis manager is, if risk is more like preparing, crisis management is more like a way of being, okay? It's a way of being when something rises up that you didn't predict, that overwhelms you, that smashes everything around you. What do? How do you be? How do you engage? How do you think about it? That's what crisis management is for. It's fast. And it doesn't come from preparation. It comes from the ability to respond appropriately because you've been trained. One of the best ways to illustrate this is what I call trigger training. Because like Amor was saying earlier, crisis really will mess with you, right? You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what's going on. People are saying this, people are saying that. You don't know how to act. You don't know what to do. People are looking up and asking questions from you. You have a lot of scrutiny. There's an amazing amount of pressure. It creates panic. It creates fortress mentality. It creates a lot of things inside of your brain. The simplest way to describe it is being on crisis is like drunk and afraid. You know, you're not thinking clear. You're not thinking clearly, and you're not at your best. And you're not at your best. You're not at your best. And the difference between a crisis manager and everybody else is the crisis manager can step into that environment when everybody else is freaking out and going, okay, this, decisively, quickly. I always like to say, sometimes I refer to Amor as the general, because when Amor walks into a room in a crisis scenario, it's
Amor,
things get done.
Amor, how are we doing right now as a nation? What is your observation?
Because a lot of it, guys, I don't know. Am I coming in here now, David? Tricks?
Clear.
Okay. A lot of it is protocols and training and systems and processes, right? Brad said that a lot of it is a state of a certain mindset and a state of being. Earlier, we talked about the need for objectivity. We talked about the need to take away the emotion from all of it, because, like I said, crisis is very similar to falling in love, right? All the highs and lows and that siege. Brad called it the fortress mentality. It's that you and me against the world. That's why at the early onset of the COVID pandemic, you see a lot of back and forth. There is a heightening of the back and forth and the bickering between seemingly two opposing parties, right? But we gotta cut out the noise. We have to remove all of those emotions and just focus on actions, right? We're here to speak objectively and not editorialize. We're not here to give opinions, but we're here to talk about actions as to how we can just simply work together, right? Um, and that's what we hope, that sobriety. It's interesting, Brad talked about being drunk, right? Being drunk and being in love. What we need to be right now is sober, and what we need to be is objective. And it's just the kind of thing that comes with a lot of practice. It's not the kind of thing that you could read in a book or just do tabletop exercises for. Despite the fact that we probably over the past 20 years managed 30 to 40 major crises. Many of them have never even hit the papers, thank God. Nothing has really prepared us for something like this. I mean,
Correct.
this was really a shocker,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It's yeah.
So I wanna get straight to the point. Let me start with Amor first.
Sorry, I can't
How
hear
should
kids.
yeah can guys can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
nice. So again, Amor, I want to ask you first. Given the things that we're undergoing right now, how should companies or brand behave and communicate during this difficult time?
More, you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. Why don't you go ahead, Brad, and then I'll
Okay,
react
Brad.
to it.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, so what should brands do? So
Mm.
before we get started, the first thing that you should realize is you need to be very, very dubious of anyone who tells you they know what's going to happen next. Nobody really knows what happens when you shut down the world for a month or more. Okay? There are a lot of professional opinions out there, but this is all new territory, and so you have to use your discernment. Okay? Now, and a big part of the problem is that a lot of confident professionals who were assured they knew what to prepare for didn't really know what they were in for. So the thing is, the way that companies need to be, well, the first problem is this. If you own a company right now, and I'm talking directly to you, you need to do everything that you can to survive, short of endangering lives by spreading the pandemic. This is very important because a lot of companies may not survive, and a whole lot of people are going to become unemployed. The folks in their mid 20s and 30s have never known what it's like to try and find a job or start a business in a super down economy. That hasn't happened in the Philippines in a very long time. And a lot of them, they work in a place for 2 years and then move on to new opportunities. And they may be in for a very rude awakening because there will likely be a global financial event following the global pandemic event. So the thing is that, so the first thing that I want to say is this, and I want to speak this to the public. If a company comes across as a little bit tone deaf,
Okay.
may I make a request to show a little bit of patience and forbearance, because those companies need to stay alive for the Philippines. They need to stay alive. They need to find ways to conduct business. They don't know exactly what they're doing. They don't know exactly how they're going to be doing it, and they're going to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, those are the job creators for the country. So we should all be maybe just a little less harsh than we ordinarily are when dealing with brands who make missteps. So that's the first thing that I'd like to be able to say, and that's for the public. In the case of the companies themselves, you need to understand that their job is doubly hard because you have to survive, but you still have to be sensitive to the situation. This is where empathy and situational awareness meet objectivity, that thing that Amor was talking about, how to be objective, right? Because you have to really understand what's going on, and you have to understand how it's really affecting others around you, so you can communicate without bringing a massive protest down on your head. Um, and this is important because as the business owner, you're going to be having a lot of you have a lot of pressure to make sales. You have creative agencies, creative resources that want you to go out there and want you to be, and have these ideas about how to go and communicate with the public, to resonate, to distract, to entertain, to do something, to make a difference. But I'll tell you, you need to have a very solid sense of discernment when you're doing those kind of things, because the stuff that right, this is the part of it that people don't really get. When you're in the boardroom and an idea gets floated and it's creative, you can't tell if it's gonna blow up in your face, because you have no objectivity whatsoever. So the commercial engagements that were successful and everyone went, oh, or thanks for helping, they looked exactly the same to those people as the stuff that blew up and turned into a massive storm for the ones that for those people. They look exactly the same.
Brad?
And yeah, please.
Yeah,
No,
I
please.
wanna pick up from what you said, right? What should brands do in this type of scenario? You said something interesting about creativity, right? Some of them are trying to be clever, coming up with a there is this controversial sardines, oh sorry, fast moving consumer goods
Okay. Yeah.
company that initially went viral, came up with a few clever and creative materials, taking a piss at what the government was doing. Everyone momentarily lauded, right? They momentarily lauded what they were doing, the public at large. And then it turns out that there were implications and repercussions to what they were doing. Um, Eventually, the long and the short of it is, many say that this creativity
Mhm.
of this brand eventually backfired on them. I think the key learning here is creativity needs to be tempered not just with strategy, but more important, it's not just the need for you to be heard, right?
Mhm.
If you feel that there's a need for you to be heard in times of a crisis, you need to make sure that you study your entire stakeholder landscape, right? Um, you need to look at your license to operate in the community where you operate, in the community, in your manufacturing facility, for example.
Okay.
Your people, taking care of your people, making sure that there are no labor issues that are attendant, right,
I see.
to the conduct of your business and things like that. That's one. Second, you need to continue to really be relevant. You need to be able to pivot quickly enough so that your reason for being as a business prior to COVID will be aligned with what the public at large needs. So, for example, many of the restaurants these days really don't do delivery services, right? But all of a sudden, they're forced into a situation where they need to. And I really commend those who historically do not look at delivery as an option, probably because the quality of their food will suffer, but now have allied and worked with companies like Grab, Angkas, Lalamove to make sure that they continue to be relevant to these markets. So, acting quickly and decisively is also very important. There's really not much time to
Yeah.
sit down and plan. If
Right.
you need to plan, you need to do it maybe in 24 hour, in a 24-hour trajectory, and then execute.
Okay.
And then if you're going to fail, you need to fail fast, pivot, and then just move, right?
Wow.
Um, it's really, I remember doing a talk before. I wanted to teach crisis to a couple of high level CEOs. And remember, Brad, we used um, World War Z, the zombie apocalypse, as a lever for teaching
Uh,
risk issues and
Who
crisis.
knew?
And
Who knew,
yes,
right?
who knew, right? That we're going to have something almost similar.
mhm.
So it's very important that you continue to be relevant, that you can act definitively and swiftly.
Okay.
And more importantly, you cannot just look at your ecosystem within your business. You have to look at your stakeholder base. That includes the community, that includes your manpower, that includes also your relationships with government,
Okay.
right? And other potential
Those
stakeholders.
are really great insights. But now I'm thinking, what if I'm in a company and my products are
Yeah.
really non-essentials? So how should we behave? How should we, communicate?
Sorry, is Trixie speaking?
Yeah. I'll type it right
Yeah,
there.
she's asking.
Go ahead,
Uh,
Brad.
look at your message. Okay,
Okay.
so when you talk about products being non-essentials, understand that there's going to be a period of time where it's not really considered appropriate for your products to be pushed. Um, that's not to say that there won't be demand for those products, but pushing them basically puts public health at risk because it increases the amount of traffic on the road. It increases the amount of handling, and so from a COVID responsibility standpoint,
Okay.
um, you need to take a pause. Um, but when you're talking about non-essentials, um, I think really what we're talking about are non-essentials that contribute to risk, okay, that contribute to the COVID threat. Because technically speaking, Netflix is not an essential, but it's doing quite well. Online
Oh,
gaming is not an
Mm.
essential, but it's doing quite well. It's the stuff that puts people at risk that you have to worry about. And those are the things that you want to be able to deal with. And this also comes with big logistical insights. For example, how do you deliver things to people in a way that's COVID safe? Like, for example, the way that fast food companies are doing, or food delivery companies are doing no touch types of deliveries. How do we make sure that our packing materials are safe? Now, these things are not necessarily what you would call uh, um, these are operational concerns, but they're also communications concerns, because the point of the matter is that companies need to be very clear and aggressively transparent with the fact that they're doing things to try and make everybody safe.
okay.
Contributing to human safety is the first and foremost priority. Now, what's going to happen is the longer we stay inside of lockdown, the more things people are going to need. Light bulbs burn out.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, things. Our PlayStation games get old. I don't know. There are things that bring. Earphones. Go away. And there's going to start to be demand for those things.
Okay.
Um, then that demand is not going to go away. It's just sort of shifted
Oh,
and been delayed. and things like that. And so the most important thing for companies to be able to do to communicate is we're doing everything we can to keep you safe, to keep you
Mhm.
safe. We're trying to help your life get on with as normal as possible given the circumstances, but keep you safe.
Oh,
If you can
Yeah.
make those kind of communications, generally you'll be accepted.
all right. Love that. Thank you.
If I
Can I
may all,
ask?
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead. I think Amor has something to
David,
add.
hi.
I can hear you, Amor.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to add to that. I couldn't hear the question, but I'm assuming um, maybe you're asking about parameters for brands on how they can communicate during this time.
Yes.
Whether you're an essential brand
Non-essential.
or a non-essential, whether you're an
Okay.
essential or
Right.
a non-essential brand, um, there are probably just three springboards for you to communicate from. Communicate from a point of sympathy and empathy, right? Second, and this could talk about your CSR efforts or your ways to help and alleviate the situation. This could be in terms of you galvanizing your client base or community to raise funds for frontliners, etc. That's the first. Second, communicate from the point of view of service.
Okay.
This could take the form of extended hours if you're, say, a gasoline station, or uh, additional new services, like, for example, delivery. So communicate from the point of view of service. Third, communicate from a point of view of transparency. So I could not emphasize enough what Brad said. Um, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There has never been a time in history when absolute transparency has been required of organizations and brands. And this is the time to do so. If you're having a difficult time and you have to shut down or you have to cut off service, shorten the hours, you couldn't fulfill on a delivery, please say so. So communicate from a point of view of sympathy and empathy, from a point of view of service, and also from the point of view of transparency.
Love it. Thank you so
David.
much. Go ahead, David.
Yes, thank you so much, Amor. I still have a question also to Brad and Amor. Either of you can answer the question first. Do you have can you have you observed brands or companies that have done well in that scenario? I mean, I heard a while ago where you were saying that restaurants are doing better now in terms of, like, changing, delivering, being of service to bringing the food to homes of people. Brett was saying that online will definitely, the demand for online products will rise as people would still want to get their products to be delivered. Can you share maybe some best practices that you have seen so far, either in the Philippines or globally, of brands?
Mm.
Yeah.
Brad, you want to start off?
Or even
Okay.
pivoted?
So actually, one of the things that I'm looking very closely at right now, which has been fascinating for me, is an interesting niche inside of the Philippines, which is vegetable delivery. Now, the reason why I find this particularly interesting is because this has been something that is very, very small and very, very niche, and without a lot of organization behind it. A lot of it was done directly by farmers, and it's this is and as everyone is fairly well aware, our agricultural system has a lot of issues, and our farmers don't tend to make a lot of money with the current system. And now with COVID, what's happened is the and the fact that there's now like 3 hours to go through a supermarket. Um, the online delivery for produce is exploding, is exploding. And the thing is that this is the exact opposite of professional systems, right? These are these things are being all cobbled together as we speak. Um, they're highly unreliable, but slowly but surely you can see like evolution happening in like the course of every day. Something new is coming in, new organization, someone's got a new website, someone's got a new delivery system, someone's got anti-COVID-19, and it's spreading throughout the provinces. And this to me is fascinating because it represents a very interesting shift from the concept of public food to private food. And it's not something that I'd ever really
Mm.
thought about before. But if you consider for a moment the idea that everything that you buy from a market or a supermarket is public, meaning that hundreds of people walk by it all the time. Many people handle it. It's not special to you. It's not targeted to you. And pre-COVID, I guess we really didn't think about it, or we really didn't care. But
Mhm.
now I think about it. Now I care. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are starting to think about it and care. And it's causing this industry to erupt and evolve at amazing speed. My God, the rate that it's evolving is incredible.
Right. David, you wanted to ask some brands who we feel are doing best practices during this time, and maybe
Yes.
some learnings, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
um,
please.
first, I really am impressed with how the insurance industry, historically, the insurance industry has been seen as slow to act, but they were really one of the first to extend coverage,
Mhm.
to extend their policies to include
COVID.
COVID coverage,
Right.
right? So the fact that they instantaneously acted in a manner that's unprecedented. And even the insurance commission, I have to commend the insurance commission for having agreed to non face to face selling, because under the law, you're supposed to undertake face to face selling, right? So
Mm,
you can explain the benefits of a policy, etc. But the insurance commission, a regulatory body that's historically been seen as um, not as agile as like tech companies, they acted quickly. So I really want to commend the insurance industry for having done so. You see brands like FWD, AXA, among others, who have extended COVID related policies, right?
mm.
When the word COVID wasn't even around 3, 4 months ago, you know how the insurance industry has like a history of doing everything through actuarial science. Another group that I would also like to commend would be the motorcycle taxis. Um, all the motorcycle taxis, most of them are not into food delivery. So
Yeah.
your Angkas is different from Grab Food. It's different from Lala Move, which is really about moving food and logistics, right? Um, because the government has, and with good reason, stop motorcycle service. There were close to around maybe 100,000 habal motorcycle riders who were displaced. A lot of the major companies, such as for example Angkas, they pivoted their business model um, to now include food delivery, even if they were not receiving anything from it, right? So props really to those who are in the transport and mobility space. um, Co-opetition, I love the idea of competitors working together. um, Vaccine arch enemies, right? Like GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi, who historically are competitors, really fierce competitors in the vaccine space. We've recently heard how they're collaborating, lending each other's proprietary technology, adjuvant technologies. I don't want to geek out,
Yeah, sure. Go
right?
ahead.
But basically, they're working together because we're in this together, right? The idea of competitors are no longer as relevant at this point, right? It's really imperative for us to all work together. Yeah, I think those are three of some of the brands that I felt are doing best case practices. And then of course those with a large network, say for example a lot of the gasoline and
Mhm.
oil and gas companies with networks all over the Philippines, they are becoming a platform for others to help and do the same. So now you see brands like Shell, Petron carrying groceries and frozen produce, right? From Magnolia Chicken to Jollibee, Chicken Joy, right?
Right.
Being sold and delivering groceries. So just amazing the kind of pivot in the business model, and hopefully our MSMEs can also learn from them. If these big conglomerates can do that, why not us? We can also do that because you're more nimble and you're more agile and there's less bureaucracy.
Right. Gosh, I love it. We're learning so much. We hope we have two
Yes.
hours to do
Might be a
this.
question. I hope that helps. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Amor.
Okay. Yeah. If I may ask,
I'm seeing here a question about
go ahead.
um, ideas on how to continue to generate revenues
Hmm.
despite the
Yes.
lockdown. I have an idea and I'd like to get started. Um, we do advisory work for many technology companies, and there's never been a better time to really tech up than now, right? Everyone's been trying to postpone their digital transformation. Now you're forced to. A market that refuses to touch paper money and would rather do online banking transfers and payments through coins and Gcash and your PayMy and through wallets, right? Um, a lot of the technology companies are providing the service for free and then delaying payments for after. So that may be something that many of you entrepreneurs can consider. You have to be sensitive to cash flow, not just yours, but also that of your potential clients. I mean, now's the time to look into providing freemium, right? Freemium services, right? Free and premium at the same time. Um, be generous with your time and your expertise, um, and tech up, digitalize. I think there's never really been a better time. We're seeing now home bakers and panaderias utilizing online banking and using your Lala Move, Angkas Food, Grab for the delivery of their food. So kaya naman pala,
Mm-mm.
you can do it, right? So this is probably something that you should continue to adopt even post COVID, right? So speed of transaction, how do you service more people? The more you automate, the more you will be able to service more people, right? It's not about me commerce. Me commerce is when you message on Facebook, deposit, and then arrange for the delivery. Okay, well and good. But if you can quickly automate
Right.
your systems and processes, then even while sleeping, you could be managing orders at this point.
That's right.
So maybe that's what I'd like to suggest. Scale up by teching up, right? So whether it's your payments or your delivery, there's never been a better time to really take the plunge in your digital transformation.
Right. So much gems tonight. Brad, do you have anything to add or you want to say
Brad,
something?
did you have suggestions? They're
Yeah.
asking us
So
about
I
yeah.
yeah. So they're asking us about how to continue doing business here. Well, the first thing is definitely what you need to learn how to do in your business is COVID safe delivery. Uh, and I don't mean just delivery like logistics delivery. I mean delivery of whatever services whatever manufacturing you're in, look, we need to face the facts that COVID doesn't seem like it's going to like vanish. It's not. It looks like it's something that's going to linger. Um, and a lot of the social distancing. I mean, we're in lockdown now, so but a lot of the social distancing is going to have to evolve into processes, policies, and procedures that can make people feel safe and comfortable. Whether it's the idea of super ionizing the air to make sure that it's not virus related, or how you manage sanitation, or how people interact with each other in the course of doing service. You know, there are a lot of services that are going to face some very serious challenges. Um, uh, like for example, hair salons, or dental clinics, or spas that do massages and things like that. Those types of companies are going to face tremendous challenges coming out of COVID, and they need to be thinking right now about how they can make people feel safe delivering their service, or they're going to crash. So that's really the most urgent for me.
Thank you so much. My love, do you have any more questions for them? Last?
David, I think we're down to our last question, right?
uh,
Hello?
okay, what has this crisis taught you personally? I know what you said, no personal questions, but I mean, it's right. I mean, this is
You're a
just like,
friend.
for
You're
yeah.
allowed to. No worries. Brad, did you want to start?
Well, um, you know, there was this show. I think it's on. Is it on Netflix or HBO Go? Chernobyl. Um,
Mhm.
and Amor and I were watching this show Chernobyl, which was talking about the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Um, and we were looking at each other. I mean, we were looking at each other and going, "Oh my God, this would be even by our standards, this would be like the ultimate nightmare type of scenario, where like half of Europe could become uninhabitable or something if it's not handled properly." And we were looking at this and going, thank God that wasn't ours.
Mhm.
And then I would say within 4 months of watching that, there's this that comes up, and it really drives home the idea that unlikely doesn't mean not going to happen, and that there are things every so often humanity gets dealt a really, really bad deal, and we have to be the kind of resilient, um, the smart kind of resilient, the kind of resilient that goes, it can happen, and it can happen to us. And we need to be the type of people who can stand up, step up, and do what it takes to get our lives back. Um, and it can affect you personally, and it doesn't matter. You just have to deal. And I think that's really been the biggest, I guess, lesson. It's very different from managing somebody else's crisis, but it's not your crisis, versus managing a
Thank
crisis
you so much.
that's everybody's crisis.
Thank you so much, Brad. Smart kind of
Um,
resilient.
from my end, there are two levels of learnings that have really struck home. I want to start with the more personal learnings. No, second week into the lockdown, Because right now we're staying in a temporary apartment, and we had to downsize a bit because our apartment's being renovated. But I was looking through the closet, sorting things out, and I said, wow, none of these, your shoes, your clothes, your bags, they're all nothing. It's useless, right? At the end of the day, these are all external, these are optics, and um, at the core of it all, you really focus on what's fundamental, and that's really caring for your family, making sure that you can secure good drinking water, or fresh supply of fish, right? Or healthy food. So it really taught us down to the barest minimum what's really important in life. That's the
Right.
first. Second, um, politics at the end of the day is the power dynamics, right, between people, organizations, individuals, etc. And there's politics is inevitable. Um, and you realize that a lot of these dynamics that irritate you are really super petty compared to bigger issues like making sure that we survive through the next summer, right? um, we were I remember, I think second week into the crisis, there was a BG's video that came out, and it was all about, right, staying alive, right? And Brad and I were laughing so hard.
Yeah.
I remember both laughing and crying at the same time because it was so appropriate and it was so funny. And
What are you doing this
you
summer?
could be,
Oh,
yes,
oh,
staying alive,
oh,
right? Trying to stay alive.
Saying
We were
it.
all we were all making plans to do such big and great things, and all we really want at the end of the day is to stay alive. But as a final point, there is hope. Um, Earlier Trixie was asking how what's the highlight of our day, right? Um, we received an email from a European tender that we entered into last year, saying, "Hey, you guys want a bid, right? You want a tender." It was all about promoting foreign direct investments from Europe to the Philippines. And I said, "Are you sure? Do you want to continue during COVID and crisis?" And they're like, "Yes, because we will get through this, right? We will get through this." And this is from one country in Europe that's one of the hotbeds, not Italy, right? Not Italy. One of the hotbeds in the European Union. And they said yes, because we will survive this. So the fact that people are already looking at post-COVID strategies, looking at how we can continue to interlink, given the fact that most countries are shutting down and locking down, um, this is kind of like a seed of hope for us. Post Noah's Ark, you see you see a bird carrying a laurel leaf, you kind of feel hopeful that yes, not just the Philippines but the world will persist, and we will all get through this together.
yeah.
So yeah.
Congratulations! That really made me so happy. I'm so happy for you guys, for the world. That's the mindset that we all need. Thank you.
Absolutely. My love.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, I share the same sentiments with Amor. I looked
They keep on saying my love. I think it's in reference to me, Amor, right?
at
Amor.
here.
No, I love Trixie and David. I'm their
Oh, yeah,
first fan, not Fro. Fro just sent a message. Hi, Fro. I'm the first fan of this couple.
prior to Pro and Kian. Yeah. You were asking me, right? So I share the same sentiments with Amor. When I look at what I have, it's really the basic. That's all I need. That's what I realize right now. That's all I need. And yeah, spending time with the people you love. That's it. That's the main taught me to also think of what I really want to do in my life from today moving forward. Yeah, that's it. How about you?
For me, number one, it has strengthened my belief in my faith that we have to have faith, because, in this time of uncertainty where, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You don't know what's going to happen. Like Brett was saying also, you have to trust your gut feel somehow, because there will be a lot of people out there telling you do this, do that, and at the end you have to have faith in yourself, into humanity, and other thing also is to be grateful, because with a lot of fear in people's hearts and minds, when we remind ourselves what is important to us, remind ourselves of the love that we have for one another and to oneself, grateful will give you stability and help you center yourself. And the other thing, what I like also, what Amor was saying, that even as a brand and as a company, to think about how to be of service to others and not, be aggressive in terms of like,
Always.
selling products. I think the one message that resonates very strongly that I hear also in the media is like, unite we stand, unite we fall. And for me, it's important to care for one another.
That's
That's the
right.
most important thing. I think, well,
Yes.
if we care for one another in the deepest sense, then we will survive this.
We
You
will.
know,
We
we
will.
will,
Brad, what are you
We
right?
will.
Can
something?
I ask you guys a question? Can I ask you a question? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm kind of doing this informal poll. So I've noticed that the world seems to be divided up between two groups of people. We'll call them post-COVID people. There's the group of people that say, I want to go back to my old life the way that it was. And then there's the other group of people that say, I don't want to go back to my old life. I want life to be different coming out of COVID. Which are you?
Mm.
My love.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Can we do a little
Oh,
bit
sorry,
of
Amor.
both?
Amor. You asked.
Who goes first? No, it's okay. I have a very quick answer to that. I still want to say me prior to this. But if there's anything that I really want to change, I know I will be more active in terms of, being a better citizen, not just of this country, but of the world. That one, I really feel it in my heart. And I know I will really spend time to be a better, better person. So it's a little bit of both, I would say. Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Amor?
Amor.
David?
Okay,
Life
I
goes
got.
back to the way that it was, or life is going to be very different.
Well, for me, I accepted the fact a very long time ago that life is always a constant change. And you know,
Mhm.
evolution, innovation, it's all for me the same. So for me, it's after COVID, definitely things will change. Definitely, it has left a certain kind of a trauma as well, I would say, and we would have to. I for myself have to overcome this trauma, and I'm working on it for myself. So definitely, I will not be the same, and I will not try to go back to the same. But I will try to look to adapt, to find the best pieces of it, the best learnings out of it, and to impart it into our life. Because what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Correct.
You know.
But don't you feel like we've never been more
So team
connected
different.
to each other, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is this, there's this great divide also at some point, right? Like we have to be separated in order to survive together. I mean, that alone
Yes.
is already a philosophy where you kind of go like, before COVID, it's like, huh? That doesn't make sense, right? So again, like for me, it's like it's really about caring for one another and supporting each other. I think
That's
also there
true.
will be a big shift in how business is being conducted. I think it's going to get more localized now, more community oriented. There will be dramatic change in terms of travel. I think the provinces will rise also a lot. In terms of education, I don't. There's going to be change. There's going to be change, and you know, well, let's see how this is going to all turn out. But I hope and I pray and I wish that it's going to go all for the better.
Yeah, for sure. We will all love
And
the
it
new
will,
normal.
inshallah,
Yeah.
God willing. Mhm.
Okay. All
Thank you
right.
so
Thank you so
much,
much,
guys.
Amor. Thank you so much, Brad.
This is a record
We can never
breaking.
say no to you guys. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We love you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. It's been an
And I
hour.
hope everyone is well and happy and with their
Yeah.
families, safe and sound and with people they love. We really wish everyone in the world the best.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
More
Ingat
Brad.
tayo.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye,
Mwah.
guys.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, so guys. That's Brad Geiser and Amor Maclang of huh. Okay, I'm back.
Sorry.
So, wow, it's my that's a record breaking. That's the longest record breaking episode. It's the longest one that we've ever had. 1 hour, and believe me, I still wanna keep on talking to them. Right? Wow. Um,
Yes, very
they're not here
insightful.
anymore, but yeah, thank you guys. I know you're so busy. Yeah. Um, I'm just so happy because I learned a lot. And thank you very much for co-hosting this with me. I love.
Absolutely. It's always my pleasure, my love.
Mhm.
And again, also, thank you so much again, Brad. Thank you so much, Amor. It's a true pleasure to hear from people that are really true to their word of doing well by doing good.
Hmm. Yeah. So three points. I out of all the many gems that they shared, just to have a recap. So Brad talked about discernment, right? Because no one really knows what's going to happen. So you have to exercise your own discernment. And a more shared ways and how we should communicate as a brand. So that's communicate from the point of sympathy, empathy, and then your service, being of service to people and being transparent. So, and what else? Lastly, there's no excuse. Everybody can go digital and should. No?
Absolutely. I mean, now it's the time to evolve, and you know, um, just like us, we're staying connected right now through online, and
Mm-hmm.
don't make use of the power of the internet. I would say, moving forward also.
Right. Woohoo! It's been a really nice
Yeah.
episode. It's second to the last. So, guys, tomorrow we still have one more before I go on a break. I hope I'd be able to see you here again tomorrow for 30 minutes. So, as we continue to light up the world, the message shared to us today via goodnewspilipinas.com is we can now show it. The word is cheer up. Uh-huh. It comes from
Sorry,
Catherine.
my love.
You don't have it? Okay.
I don't have. I was at work
It's all
actually.
right. Okay. So yeah, because every night we show a message of hope, which was initiated by Leader of Light and goodnewsfilipinas.com. So if you get to donate any amount to any organization, you get to also share with us your message of hope that's being featured. So tonight's message is cheer up from Catherine Salvan, who donated her salary to help the daily wage earners in Dasmariñas, Cavite. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much.
So, my love, thank you so much. Again, that's David Abrenilia of Mediacom Solutions Incorporated. Thank you for co-hosting the night with me.
My pleasure, my love.
We should have done this a long time ago. So, there you go. So, my name is Trixie Esguerra. And for good news about the Philippines and the Filipino people, please make sure you have liked goodnewsfilipinas.com on Facebook and on YouTube as well. And positivity chicks, your tips and tricks to keep you positive. Good night, Filipinas. See you tomorrow for the finale. Okay, the last episode of this 30-day live show dedicated for you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Love you and good night.